Hello, I'm Lucy Gray. This is the Iran War Today, our daily briefing bringing you up to date with all you need to know on day 57 of the US-Israel war with Iran. Let's start with some of today's key developments. What seemed to be an opportunity for renewed peace talks between Iran and the US has been scuppered. Donald Trump has cancelled a planned trip to Pakistan by his special envoy Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law Jared Kushner. News of the cancellation came hours after Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi had left Pakistan after a day of key meetings. He delivered Tehran's views on ending the war to Pakistan officials and said it's unclear if the US is truly serious about diplomacy. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, the government says Israeli airstrikes in the south have killed 4 people. That's despite the current ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. Earlier, a senior official said there is almost full-blown war in the south of the country. Israel has claimed Hezbollah is trying to sabotage the ceasefire agreement by targeting IDF positions. And for the first time in almost 2 months, Tehran's international airport has resumed some international passenger flights. The first flights departed earlier on Saturday for cities across the Middle East. While a ceasefire holds between Iran and the US still, Islamabad wants to host talks that may or may not happen. As I mentioned, Iran's foreign minister spent the day in Pakistan for key meetings, but now he has left, sparking Donald Trump to cancel the US delegation's trip to Islamabad to take part in talks. In a post on Truth Social, the president claimed Tehran is confused about who is in charge and said if they want to talk, all they have to do is call. Well, joining me now from Islamabad is GR Gol from our BBC Persian team, and from Washington, our North America correspondent, Peter Bowes. GR, to you, first of all, can you talk us through how things developed today?
Well, what happened today, we heard from Pakistan, Iranian team, that Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi have presented a package to Pakistani, particularly a meeting with General Asim Munir, the head of Pakistan Army, to pass it to American. Obviously, Iranian from yesterday, when the news came, Abbas Araghchi, Foreign Minister, is traveling to Pakistan, they said they don't have any plan to meet US delegation. Also inside Iran, many hardliners said he doesn't have a mandate or authority to meet American or talk about nuclear program, an issue we know in the first round of negotiation here in Pakistan, that was one of the major issues they couldn't reach an agreement. And after that, Abbas Araghchi left the country, and he said he's on a round trip to Muscat, the capital of Oman, and then he's going to Moscow to leave to meet the Russian leaders. And I think what I'm hearing inside Iran also, maybe something President Trump said, that there is no unified opinion or decision in Iran. It seems when Abbas Araghchi came yesterday, we heard many voices inside Iran from different factions inside establishment. They weren't happy for him to come here, and they said he should not and he cannot meet US delegation. But we do know exactly what Abbas Araghchi presented to Pakistani to send it to American. We don't know whether President Trump heard those proposals and decided to cancel the trip for his special envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner.
OK, well, Peter, talk us through what President Trump said his reason was for the cancellation.
Well, Donald Trump, as blunt as ever, said he intervened as preparations were underway for that US delegation to head to Pakistan. But he said, and just to quote him, and the news first broke on Fox News, and the president said that you're not going to make that 18-hour flight to go there, referring to his representatives. He said, we have all the cards. They can call us, Iran can call us anytime they want, but you're not going to be making any more 18-hour flights to sit around talking about nothing. And then on his Truth Social platform a short time later, he confirmed that news, that the delegation would not be heading to Pakistan. And he said, I just cancelled the trip. He said, too much time wasted on travelling, too much work. And then he said, and we've just heard a little bit about this, besides which he said there is tremendous infighting and confusion within their leadership. Nobody knows who is in charge, including them. Also, he says, repeating this thought, we have all the cards, they have none. If they want to talk, All they have to do is call. And I think this reflects what we've been hearing from the White House for a few days now, that they believe that the ball is very definitely in Tehran's court to come up with a unified plan, unified thoughts and ideas, proposals for the United States to end the war.
And Gia, where does this leave Pakistan's role in all this? And if we've got Donald Trump saying that Iran just has to call us, we don't want to get on a flight and go to Islamabad.
Well, we know Pakistan in the past few days, they have been putting a lot of effort behind the scene, the shuttle diplomacy, talking to Iranian, talking to American, even also talking to regional powers to persuade both sides come back to the negotiation table. Pakistan have invested tremendously, diplomatically and in terms of security. Even those places, those hotels, supposed to host the delegations, still they are empty. Still there are security forces around them. The streets leading to them cordoned off. Pakistan was hopeful that this might result in a tangible result, so both sides come back to negotiation table. And in fact, if this succeed, or it would have succeeded, definitely it would have been a great boost for Pakistan to bold Pakistan in the region and internationally to having a role to solving such a big problem in the region.
And Peter, meanwhile, the economic impact of this continues globally, and I suppose also Americans feeling it as well. What do you assess the mood as there in the US as this war of Donald Trump's continues?
It's quite obvious that the mood in this country is very much, or at least increasingly, against the war. Now, there was quite a significant proportion of the American public right at the beginning who did not want to see this war happen, including some of Donald Trump's own supporters. But as the war has gone on, and we saw the impact pretty quickly in terms of crude oil prices rising very swiftly, the impact on fuel prices, petrol prices, and people now are feeling the pinch in a pretty serious way, and it's affecting their everyday lives. And clearly there are potential political repercussions here for the president in what is an election year, the midterm elections in November. It feels like, it sounds like a long way away, but with this deadlocked state seemingly in these talks, or what would have been talks to end the war, people see this dragging on, and I think politically that could not be good for certainly the Republicans, the president's party.
Okay, thank you. Peter Bose for us there in Washington and Gia Gol there in Islamabad. Thanks to both of you. Now to Lebanon. Despite a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah, the fighting has continued, with one senior government official in Beirut claiming the south of the country is in almost full-blown war. The Lebanon Health Ministry there says 4 people were killed on Saturday, on top of 6 who were killed on Friday. Israel's military said it had struck positions used by Hezbollah militants to launch rockets across the border. Israel has accused Hezbollah of trying to sabotage a ceasefire that's been extended for 3 weeks. Our Middle East correspondent Lina Sinjab is in Beirut with the latest.
This is the second day where, people are killed during this 10-day ceasefire before it is extended. On Wednesday as well, the Israelis have killed 5 people, including a prominent journalist whose death sparked really anger across the country. Israel maintains the same line, that they have the right to protect Israel, protect the northern border, and they need to attack Hezbollah operatives or Hezbollah structures so that to maintain this safety for their own nation. Hezbollah on its own say they are retaliating to Israeli attacks, and that's all. This whole narrative is threatening the ceasefire, despite the U.S. being behind these negotiations and the U.S. president announcing this extension of 3 weeks, including announcing that there might be a meeting between the Lebanese president and the Israeli Prime Minister. There hasn't been any comment from either side whether this is going to happen or not. But I think that's going to be really, if it happens, it's a big breakthrough. I mean, the sheer fact of these direct negotiations happening between the two sides, it only happened in 1993 to also find a solution for, the two warring side. Lebanon has in its own law that it is criminal to deal with with Israel. So to have a peace signed with Israel, knowing that none of the countries in the region have had this kind of deal, is still really a big shot to look ahead. But just to secure a lasting ceasefire, for the government to have the Israelis pulling out from the south, to have the people, the civilians who've been displaced, to be able to go back to their towns and villages, despite most of them being flattened with Israeli bombardment, that's a breakthrough and an achievement for the Lebanese government and the Lebanese people. That is still no confirmation is going to be achieved. So I think things are going to take step by step until you reach an understanding of how the relationship is going to be between the two sides, and that's only if Hezbollah committed to the ceasefire and stopped firing rockets into northern Israel.
Lina Sinjab from Beirut. Well, even though the ceasefires remain in place, almost no ships have used the Strait of Hormuz, which remains effectively closed. The uncertainty is leaving European leaders concerned about the supply of oil and the wider economic impact. Today, French President Emmanuel Macron is in Greece to strengthen ties and said that it's important for nations to come together and not panic.
On est tous embarqués dans la même galère.
We're all in the same boat. And though we didn't choose this boat, if I may say so, we're subjected to geopolitics, and we're subjected to this war that started several months ago. The worst thing in times like these, when there is geopolitical tension and uncertainty, is that such tensions are exacerbated by panic-driven behaviour. And very often, shortages are actually caused by that panic-driven behaviour itself.
And it's not just oil prices that are of concern. The war is having impacts across the supply chain and leading to a rise in prices for consumers. One example is plastic. It's an industry which relies heavily on the petroleum industry and as a result is feeling the consequences of the lack of oil supply. Here's Kevin Kelly, CEO of California company Emerald Packaging, on how his business has been impacted by the war.
Plastic is a petroleum product. It's either made from oil itself or from natural gas. So that means since the war started, the price of plastic has doubled because, again, of the supply disruption in the Middle East. Well, it's not just packaging that's going up. It's trucking going up. It's boxes going up. It's inks going up. It's labor that will be going up. So there's so many different things right now that are increasing that all of our customers are just being hit across the board. Those have to get passed on. So it will lead to an increase in inflation. I don't think it's shown up in the grocery store much yet. I think most of what's happening is coming.
Kevin Kelly there. Well, whether you're joining us on YouTube, TikTok, Sounds, radio or TV, thank you for being with us. And we'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the Iran War Today.